Hey there friends and enemies, JoPa here again, and now that it's officially 2025, I am begging Marvel Rivals players to stop jumping to conclusions. And this happens across the game in a lot of different instances that I want to explain in this video, but it is driving me nuts, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon, although I hope it does. So, what do I mean? First off, when a new character is announced, stop assuming that it's going to be wild, broken, OP, or completely underwhelming just because you see a small snippet of gameplay. This happened with Black Widow. Everyone was like, this character's broken. It's going to one-shot. It's going to be the next Widowmaker from Overwatch. But in reality, Black Widow is one of the worst characters in the game right now. Some of this is due to the fact that she doesn't get a seasonal damage bonus, and that makes Hela and Hawkeye so much better, but also her kit is not necessarily what everyone assumed it would be when it was first shown off. She is not as much of a sniper character as a Hawkeye is, whereas she has a decent up-close kit and some sniping mixed in for a combination that can do okay in certain hands, but ultimately is underwhelming. That being said, she could get a buff or nerf eventually that brings her in line with what people expected, but for now, I think it is the perfect example for people just overreacting when they see that initial gameplay that is set up to make her look especially strong, because the developers want people to be excited to play this new character. And then once you get your hands on her, that's when you can make a judgment. But even then, even when you play a character for that first 3 to 5 hours, it is not enough time to really get a feel for how the character is going to perform long term. If you go back and look at some of the tier lists from the first couple days of the game, it is wildly different now after a few weeks of the game being out, after about a month. And that makes a lot of sense when you look at how the game functions. Not only are there a bunch of different characters, 33, that have to be mastered. You have to learn to play as them, to play against them. You learn different combinations that can be very effective, team-ups that are very valuable, and counter picks that I think a lot of people didn't realize what would counter what when the game was first a new feeling. You know, everyone was jumping in and they're picking their favorite. Iron Fist was dominant, and then you had people dominating as Spider-Man being very annoying. And then weeks go by and you're like, okay, maybe those characters, especially in higher ranks against better players, once the whole skill system settles, now you kind of get a better feeling for where characters fall. But then you have bans at higher ranks in competitive, and that changes the game as well. You have team-ups that can absolutely make a massive difference. For example, Scarlet Witch is a character who underperforms in competitive. If she is good, then her team-up would make Magneto significantly more valuable. The counter to that is the fact that a lot of people for a long time said Iron Man was very underwhelming. Meanwhile, now he's one of the highest used combinations with Hulk in high-level tournament and competitive play at times, because Hulk is very good once you master him, which takes time, and Iron Man benefits greatly. He becomes a lot better with that team-up in comparison to just him at base. And so with bans of Hawkeye and Hela, and Iron Man now performing very well with Hulk as people learn to use him because he's a little bit more of a complicated character to master, now the meta shifts. And we've seen that over the course of time in a direction that I don't think anyone would have predicted. Again, go back to some of the early tier lists and look at what we think of as the quote-unquote meta now. I also think Wolverine is the perfect example for this as well. Everyone assumed he would be a Vanguard character at first, but instead he is a Vanguard buster. So the first week or so, people are using Wolverine to try to take down the duelists and strategists and not having a lot of success. But then you realize you can use them to capture Vanguards, quickly take them out, and then move on to the next one, and it really changes things up. He is one of the key ways to prevent teams from going 3 tank, 3 vanguards and 3 strategists, because you can take out those vanguards so quickly. They can't just hard tank a point for a long period of time, especially if they have a Groot or someone who doesn't have a quick shield ability like a Penny Parker or something like that. So I do think all of these counters and different metas are going to change up who is valuable, who is good, and that's really why I love Marvel Rivals, because there isn't just one way to play. Sometimes players will jump into a game and they'll look at the characters that their team is picking, and then they only have 1 Vanguard, 3 duelists, and 2 strategists, and all of a sudden they assume that they are going to lose that game, when in reality it is not uncommon, especially as you're going up to rank gold, platinum even, to have a 1 Vanguard setup that works extremely well. Same thing with having a 0 duelist setup, potentially can work very well if you guys all are synergizing correctly. This is also true when it comes to the team abilities, like I was mentioning. You may want to pick your favorite character and it just doesn't work in certain team compositions and against certain team compositions. But if you change up and you play a character that does have a team up ability, like a Star-Lord with Adam Warlock, for example, his value rises so much higher because you have that free respawn that it could really make the difference between winning and losing a game. And that's where I think a lot of players need to come to that realization that this game is very flexible. Apparently, we are getting multiple new characters in Season 1 that, again, is going to change up the flow of the game. We have Mr. Fantastic, who initially was rumored to be a Vanguard because of his kit, but now has almost like a Vanguard kit as a duelist, which could shake up the way people play the game, as he might have lower health, but ways to enhance the team in general, and that would allow for some new interesting team compositions that don't necessarily rely on the old Overwatch 2-2-2 formula. So I think there's a lot to be excited about with the future of the game. Because of that, you have characters like Ultron potentially coming as a strategist who could be very fun to fly around and play in, and almost have him as a support duelist and strategist combined into one. There's a lot there to be excited about, and I think if you stop kind of having these preconceived notions on what should happen or what is happening without really spending enough time, energy, and research to understand how these characters work, what the benefits are. A lot of people still don't know that seasonal bonus of damage, health, or healing for the different characters is permanent. You don't need to be in a team up ability in order to have that seasonal bonus. So without that knowledge, then it's going to make certain characters feel a lot more OP, and then once the Season 1 patch hits and the seasonal bonus is not on Hela and Hawkeye anymore, they might not feel nearly as oppressive. And so I'll be very interested to see how that shakes things up going forward. But anyway, that's going to do it for me. This is kind of a rant video, but I wanted to make it because I feel like it is such a common thing with Marvel Rivals and other games, to be honest. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like the video as always. My name is Jopa. Have a good one. I'll catch you all later.
Oh.